Well, hello. This is the 7th in our series of short talks during Generosity Week. My name's Dennis Fansett. I'm a giving ministry advisor with the Diocese of Newcastle. So thank you very much for joining me once again. Now, so far during this series of brief talks, my focus has been around money. We've looked at giving because we own a vision and we want to be part of it. We've looked at giving as a reflection of the fact that we're created in the image of a generous God. We've considered how giving deepens our sense of discipleship and intimacy with God. And we've considered giving when times are tough, as many of us are finding right now in this cost of living crisis. But generosity isn't always about money. In fact, our generosity is more of an outworking, a natural consequence of something much more important, and that is a generous spirit. And another way that generous spirit can express itself is through what we say. So today, I'm going to talk about being generous with words. Now, many years ago, I worked in Hong Kong for 3 months, and the church I attended there, they had a kind of a motto, a value, if you like, that they lived by. They expected that everyone who came to their service on a Sunday morning to arrive ready both to say something on behalf of God to someone else and to receive something from another person which they could receive as God speaking to them. And I was quite impressed with that, actually. And I remember sharing it with a friend when I was back in the UK. And his initial response was that he thought the idea was quite ridiculous. He pointed out that in most churches, only 5 or 6 people at the maximum get the opportunity to say something from the front. And he just felt it was raising expectations that could not be fulfilled. And in any case, many people would just not feel comfortable with doing something publicly in the way he was referring to. But actually, I think my friend was wrong, because he wasn't considering how you say hello to the person sitting next to you or the person who you meet over coffee in the foyer at the back. And it's not so much the introductory, how are you, that counts. It's the next line, because almost everyone answers okay initially. But do we catch the doubt, the hesitancy, maybe the overconfidence, the sign that things are maybe not all okay? And if we do, then what do we say next? You know, when a person walks into church for the very first time, or perhaps they've just moved into the area and they're looking for a new spiritual home, it's most likely not what the vicar says to them, which makes them decide whether to come back the following week. It's down to the rest of us, how we greet them. Are we friendly? Are we encouraging? Are we interested in them as a person, not cliquey with our own agendas or busy needing to speak to lots of other people? And that's what helps them decide how they're treated by all of us. That's what helps a person decide whether this is the church for them and whether they're going to come back. It's our responsibility to be warm and kind with our words. And it's not just in church either. Who do you meet at work, out shopping or at school or college? What interaction do you have with neighbours, the person at the supermarket checkout, the workman doing some jobs or other at your house? I can remember my wife Kay and I were travelling once, and we'd stopped at a hotel and we went out for dinner at a nearby restaurant. It was a fairly quiet evening, not many tables were booked, but we noticed our waitress, she had a slight limp, yet despite that, she was working really hard, rushing around from table to table and being very attentive to all the different customers. And Kay said to the waitress, "Hey, you're doing a really good job. I can see you really care about your customers." And immediately a tear came into the woman's eye, and she told us that in fact it was her first evening back at work after several months off with depression, and she hadn't even been sure if she was going to make it all through her first evening shift. And she'd left her coat hanging up by the door, ready in case she needed to rush out halfway through the shift. But Kay's affirming words had really encouraged her. Later, as we left, Kay went up to her and had a few more words and told her that, whoever she was, whatever her background or beliefs, whatever had triggered the depression, that God loved her and he believed in her. And this week, it's only 2 days left of our generosity week. So really, I should say every week, but in particular over these next 2 days, let's pray for the opportunity to say something very meaningful, some affirming words to someone. It might be someone who we know we're going to meet, an arrangement we've already made, and you can think about it and plan in advance and prepare, or it might be an unexpected opportunity which arises with a stranger or someone we meet by chance. But let's pray that God gives us the opportunity and the right words to say something. And let's believe that God will answer that prayer. Now in Psalm 19, David writes, "Let the words of my lips and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer." So let's make that our prayer too, as we seek to be generous and affirming with what we say to others. Do join me again tomorrow for the last of our talks, when we'll be looking at being generous with our time. Thank you so much for listening.